Hey, everybody. My name's Kyle, and this is episode 135 of the WP Roundtable Show, where we talk about WordPress and all the amazing people that make up this fun community. Today, I'm joined by Ulrich Pogson, who is currently in the UK, but normally lives in Switzerland. How you doing,
Yeah,
Ulrich?
that's right. Hi, Carl. Doing great. Thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining me. It's a lot later at night over there. For me, I'm just thinking about maybe starting dinner soon. You're actually up pretty late, past my bedtime, honestly. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about, and I'm pretty stoked to get to know you a little bit better and to talk about some of the cool stuff that you are involved in. So first, let's jump into our quick picks of the week real fast. This week, my quick pick is uh, what was it again? Oh, there's a sale that Easy Digital Downloads, Affiliate WP, and Strict Content Pro are running right now. 20% off, end of winter sale. Clock is ticking on that. Let's see, there's just a matter of 3 days left. So pretty much everything is 20% off. So if you're in the market for some EDD extensions or awesome membership site with Restrict Content Pro, or you want to set up affiliates finally, you can get 20% off for nothing on all of those products now. So that's my quick pick. Ulrich, what have you got to share?
Yeah, I've got a more developer-oriented tip. So I just read this great article from 10up about how your options table can have effect on your speed and performance. And actually, we had this problem on one of our clients' websites where the transient that we were saving was too big, and that was affecting the speed of the site. And by reducing the size of the transient, we were able to speed up the site. And so this article's related to that. And yeah, so it's on 10up. It's called Keeping Your WordPress Options Table in Check. I seemed like a cool article.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's coincidental. We just had like a question on my other podcast, the Get Options podcast. This is an advice show. We just had a question that was about specifically the WP options table, and we talked at length about how to work with that. This would have been a good resource for me to discuss, but that's a pretty cool article and a good resource. You always count on the folks over at 10up to share some awesome development tips like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because they work with bigger clients, and so you start realizing the performance where things start lagging, especially with bigger sites then.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's not every site that you're getting down to that level and measuring the sizes of your transients, but that's still pretty sweet. Good to
Yeah.
know. All right. So thank you for sharing, Ulrich. Let's talk about your background a little bit and get to know kind of where you came from before we talk about what it is that you do now. And I'm really excited to talk about that as well. So first, maybe give you the backstory on how your career developed. Maybe we could start, let's just focus on the beginning now.
Yeah, sure.
Before you had any like real job or anything, you had ambitions, you wanted to do something with your life. Tell us about what that time was like, what you thought you were going to do, and how you set about doing it.
So yeah, it was actually when I started with WordPress and stuff like that. It was about 2012. Because I do judo quite regularly and everything, and I got injured and I luxated my collarbone. So at that time, yeah, so I was supposed to go to Germany for 2 weeks to train there, and in the end, I went to Germany, but I had time on my hands, and I just built my dad a website on WordPress, and I thought, oh, you know what? Because he wanted it in German and English, because I'm from Switzerland and we speak German there also. And so I thought, oh, I could try to work out how to translate it. I started trying to figure out how to do that and everything, and then ended up realizing that some of the strings weren't set up correctly to be able to translate them correctly and stuff like that. And that's how it just snowballed from there. And the theme that I used then was responsive,
All
which
right.
was one of the popular themes on the WordPress.org repository at the time.
From Cyberchimps, I
And
think.
yeah, Cyberchimps brought it up then afterwards.
Yeah.
And I was working on the support forums there for free, just building up my knowledge. And when Cyberchimps bought the theme, I got to work for them then for about 1.5 years or so. And then after that, it just moved on from there, really.
Wow.
So that was my main beginning, which was funny. You have an injury or something happens, and you get new opportunities from that.
That's not like, I mean, that exact turn of events. I can't say that I've heard that story quite exactly that way before, but definitely there's a theme of the stories of people that I've interviewed on this show, people that I've talked to, um, somewhat finding themselves in circumstances that uh, they didn't expect or plan for or even want, that sort of pushed them into learning a new skill, maybe getting laid off from a job, or maybe having sort of a huge life change, or something not turning out the way they'd hoped, and somehow in that process discovering this new opportunity. So it's surprisingly common
Yeah,
that that someone isn't seeking this and then finds it.
yeah,
Yeah. So that was your case, an injury. uh, Pretty cool. So you started working with the responsive theme on some small projects. Then you got to work with Cyberchimps directly.
yeah.
What was that like? Working with a product and then getting to work for the company who made the product.
Yeah, it was interesting because actually when they bought it up, I was one of the most knowledgeable people on the responsive theme, and so that's why they hired me also. And so I was working lots of first support and things like that. And from working support, you get people asking, "Oh, how do I make this little change? How do I make that little change?" And you start, improving your development skills. And then I started getting to help out with some of the development and fixing bugs and all that. And yeah, it's a different perspective, working on a theme that's going to be used by millions of people or thousands of people.
Mhm.
Then just building a small custom theme for one of your clients,
Yeah.
because you have to think of all the different possibilities or the different ways people are going to use it
Oh, absolutely.
and
Yeah.
how they allow them to extend it or not. Yeah.
And the responsive theme in particular became quite popular. I don't know what its scale was when you started using it, but it grew to be one of the most popular on the repository.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was really popular. I mean, it started competing against the 20 series themes and all.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I can only imagine working on a theme of that scale with that many users. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Um, did and considering you didn't have quite a background in many other related projects, or at least that you've mentioned yet. So you really got to go straight to a very large scale project with huge numbers of users, and you became one of the more proficient people on it. So that must have been a little bit interesting, um, kind of learning in what sounds like a high pressure situation.
Yeah, I suppose the problem, you don't always realize how many people are installing it, because it's a bit abstract sometimes.
Mhm.
The only time you do start realizing it when suddenly there's a bug in it, and then you do an update, and within 2, 3 hours, you're getting about, 26, 20, 30, 40 support requests and complaining why it's broken and stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so but then you try to work out, how do you mitigate that, and you learn from those experiences, and there's been a few challenges along the way where you make a few changes to the theme and update options and things like that, and you work out how to create a seamless update process from one
Yeah.
version to the next and things like that to prevent issues from other
Is
sites from
there,
breaking.
related to that, is there anything that really stands out when you look back that you got to work on with that theme that was pretty cool, pretty innovative, or special, or exciting at the time?
Um, I think there wasn't really that, as I was just getting into it and looking back, there wasn't really that much innovation in it per se.
Mhm.
Um, but it was just interesting being, learning a lot from this project, working with people, other people, made a few friends and things like that. I think what was interesting that we were able to get up to about 40 different translations on that theme.
Mm.
And I don't think I haven't been really tracking actively, but I don't think there's a lot of other themes who've been able to get that number of translations for the.
Right.
And that was just from actively, being in contact with translators and encouraging them to translate and things like that. So you can have quite a big effect there.
Yeah. Interesting. Was that a part of the project which you were actively involved in?
Yeah, because I started out with translations, and so at the time I thought also WordPress didn't have proper tools, or some of the tools were a bit lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, they've improved now and making it a lot easier for people to create like the pot files.
Right.
So there's a number of different ways. At the time, there wasn't a lot of documentation. Only some of the core developers knew how to do it. And yeah, so it's just trying to figure out how to do this, putting pieces of information together, and just encouraging then translators to help out, to be collaborative. There wasn't an easy way of installing WordPress, which is like a translation management tool, which is open source that WordPress uses. So there's like other websites that I was using, like Transifex, web translated. And so that means that you could just upload your pot file and just send people there, and they can just add their translations. So without needing to do anything locally.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you worked with Cyberchips for about 1.5 years, and then you moved in a different direction. What was the next step for you?
So Cyberchips got bought up by a company in India.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the time I was then working on my studies a bit more. I didn't have that much time. And so just had a bit of a break from doing a lot of things. Then I started working on WP Zoo. So this website e-commerce site that sells themes. And the themes are developed by a good friend of mine, or designed, and I help him out time to time. And so, yeah, I spent about 1 year building that on and off, just working on different things. I wrote quite a bit of custom code there, because it is multilingual and an e-commerce site. So there's a few things that, trying to connect the dots and everything.
Sure.
And yeah, so I worked on that till about May of last year.
Wow. Okay. So wpzoo.ch is your website. And you've got a couple products there. I see a couple themes. And yeah. 2 themes that I can see.
Yeah, that's right. You got only 2 themes at the moment. There's only both of them have got free version. Only one of them has a premium version, which we're selling.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. So the penguin theme has a premium version. That's pretty awesome. So you're distributing both of them free versions on WordPress.org. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cool. And what are you trying to accomplish with these themes? Like to make them special? Any special particular focus that makes these stand out in any way?
Yeah. So the penguin theme is more designed for like pictures and a bit of blogging and like that. So we're using masonry for some of the posts that they fit in nicely in a boxed format. We've also tried to make it as lightweight as possible. So we don't need to use jQuery for any of the scripts. Supports like infinite scrolling from Jetpack. We've also been working on accessibility because we want to improve on that. So we've added accessibility support recently. So that allows people to use the website or install the theme and then use their site just using the keyboard. Or if they're using a reader that reads out the text to them.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds like a fun challenge. I just was at a WordCamp a couple months ago and got to see for the first time someone give a presentation using one of those readers.
Yeah.
And it was reading the slides, and she was demonstrating how the presenter was visually impaired and was just demonstrating what all of the technology does and walking us through the process. And I feel bad that it's taken me this long to experience it in person, but it's very eye-opening. It's quite amazing technology.
Yeah.
And it does very quickly make your shortcomings in accessibility glaringly obvious.
Yeah.
But that aside, that's a wonderful effort. So what is kind of like the future strategy here for WP Zoo? What are you looking to add to the site and accomplish long term?
Yeah, I've got a few plugin ideas that I would like to develop and add there. They're still a bit on the back burner, so it's going to take a bit of time. And otherwise, my friend's working on a few more themes. I think there's going to be maybe an e-commerce theme that we're thinking of working on. And yeah, so just developing a few more themes, working on a bit of branding. So we're thinking of contacting, there's a local organization that works with accessibility and like that.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to link out with that way, that make our main selling point. Because there are not that many themes that are accessible on the WordPress.org repository. And in general, I think in the future, there's going to be more requirements coming out that, websites need to be accessible and things like that.
Sure.
I mean, recently there was an article of a big website that ended up pulling down all of its videos or something because they weren't accessible. And yeah, I think that's going to be an important part of planning within your development phase, a certain accessibility, making sure the website is ready for,
sure,
or more easily access for people who are visually impaired or have disabilities.
right. Yeah, that's fantastic. So by day now, you do some agency work, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So I'm hired by a Swiss agency that are mainly based out of Zurich, but we all work remotely, which is a bit funny, but because Switzerland's so small. But it works well, yeah, and you get a lot of freedom, especially where I work, to travel and things like that. So the company is called Required, and we work with a number of different clients. We have some small clients and we have some bigger clients. Like we have one of the Swiss banks, and we do their blog. We've also got one of the major telecom companies where we've redone a blog of theirs last year. Also, the National Rail has a few websites with us.
Wow.
And yeah, so we get a number of big sites. I mean, one of the biggest sites that we did last year was for a non-profit organization that encourages artists around the world, or supports artists around the world. And so this was a huge multi-site with multilingual support. So they have offices in Cairo, in Shanghai, in Moscow, like that. And so each of these offices abroad would get their own site. And some of these sites then had to be in multiple languages, like the one in Shanghai was in English and Chinese.
Wow.
And so we're all linked up in one big multi-site.
Oh, that sounds like a daunting project.
Yeah.
So
but it was fun.
What's your focus at the agency, your specific role?
So at the moment, I'm the WordPress developer.
Okay.
And so normally not doing much on the front end, mainly back end stuff. So which custom features, writing extra plugins and things like that, integration, and then helping out the designers in the team, to implement some of the changes that they need to make.
Sure. Okay. How big is the team?
I think we're about 7 at the moment, including me.
Great.
Yeah, it's a small team that's slowly growing.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
it sounds like some pretty neat projects again to work on. Do you get to contribute in any way to any open source projects or distribute anything of your own otherwise?
Yeah, so you get 5% time off to work on open source to WordPress.
Wow.
And so I end up working on the theme review team. So I've been working on automating or improving the automation of the theme review requirements.
Wow.
So at the moment we're using PHP-CS. I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
Mhm.
PHP Code Sniffer.
Right.
And so we're using building on top of the WordPress Code Sniffer to
Mm.
add these extra rules.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I've definitely talked to a number of people involved in the theme review team and in various capacities, and it seems like it's been an interesting topic of discussion of late. But everybody involved somehow in themes on .org or in the review team has some thoughts to share. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So how long have you been involved in that team?
Not that long, actually. I think it was beginning on 2015. I'm not sure. I would need to check. But I got made a theme review admin, so just a bit more responsibility and just helping out with some of the administrative stuff. And but we call them now key reviewers. And yeah, so I've been not that long active. I think I've been about 2 years now, 2.5 years
Wow.
working on it. But yeah, there's a lot of mixed views on how things should be done.
Certainly is. And I'm sure you would probably develop some opinion of the systems and processes and policies in place over the time. Prior to these years, you were interfacing with the repository as a developer of a theme, or maybe multiple themes that were on the repository too. So I'm sure you had some opinions before you started contributing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was for me initially, it was a great learning base, also learning place really, because you learn about the best practices.
Mhm.
And I realized today, a lot of these practices help you in the future from making silly mistakes. So
Right.
I think one of the problems that the responsive theme had, it was loading a script in the header. So I think it was enqueuing a style sheet or a script or something in the header .php instead of
Oh,
from the functions.
right.
And the problem is that when you start making changes in a child theme in the header.php and something else gets changed in the header.php, then those changes in the parent theme don't get applied to the child theme.
Mm.
And if you just work in everything in the functions.php, then you're less of a risk because of anything going really wrong.
Right.
And so there's little things like that, which I find that you learn quite a bit just from working within the guidelines, because they're from people who've worked a long time on themes.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. So the theme review process on WordPress.org is surprising to some people. And one thing that's a little surprising is just how different it is than the plugin review process. They're not similar at all.
No.
In fact, incredibly different. A plugin, I've submitted many plugins, and some were reasonable quality, some were pretty minimal, and never waited more than a couple days to get either feedback or you're approved.
Yeah.
Not the same situation when submitting a theme to get listed on WordPress.org.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
what's that process look like, and why does, I mean, you don't have to answer. Just let's talk about what the process is actually for getting a theme on WordPress.org.
So there's a couple of different differences. For the themes, you create a zip file and then you upload it. And in the uploading process, then it goes through an automated script that tries to find most of the issues or possible issues with your theme.
Mm-hmm.
And once it passes that, a track ticket is created, which is public, and then it falls in a queue. And so once your theme gets to the top of the queue, a reviewer will look at it, give his comments according to the requirements, and then if it's ready to be approved, then he will approve it. If not, if you leave some comments, then you get a chance to fix them.
Mhm.
And then you just keep on going through that back and forth process of getting feedback and fixing till the theme is ready. And then the theme reviewer can approve it. And then it just goes through one more final check at the end from a more experienced reviewer who will do a quick check to check that nothing's been missed,
Mhm.
and then set the theme live.
So are you regularly involved, or have you been in that actual process of like reviewing themes and giving feedback and approving them?
Yeah, I was quite active previously on doing reviews and like that. But recently I pulled myself a bit back just to be able to find time to work on the automation side of it. Um, and we're making good progress. We're hoping of releasing that in about June this year with a better process. And it's from what we're testing now, and other reviewers is testing, is helping catch a lot more errors.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
good.
Yeah, that's good. So, I mean, in hopes of ultimately providing a better quality review and or speeding up the process?
Yeah, so speeding up the process mainly, really, or being it for giving the developers ability to find issues earlier
Mhm.
in the development process, and not
Sure.
just when they're doing the review process.
I
So that
see.
allows them to fix the issues earlier.
Sure. That's fascinating. And when it comes to a plugin review, it is completely different. There is no track ticket. There is very little back and forth. It's like you're approved, or um, here's a problem that is described in this email.
Yeah.
Upload a new zip. Try again from scratch. uh, Very different process. What do you think about why these two processes are just so completely different? And is this a problem?
Yeah, I think there's two main things. I think one is that the theme review process is public, and secondly, the plugin review, you don't see what other people responses they're getting or things like that.
Mhm.
And the team is a lot smaller of the plugin review team, but they have people who are being sponsored. The time's being sponsored to work on it,
Mhm.
and the theme review team doesn't really have anyone who's sponsored to work on it full time.
Right.
And so that sometimes causes difficulties with consistency, because your understanding or my understanding of certain requirements can be understood differently. And so trying to bring that consistency across when you have a lot of change in reviewers. So some
Right.
reviewers might do one or two reviews and then move on. And so just being able to bring that consistency in the reviews is a lot more difficult.
Mm.
Um, and then I find at a certain point there was also a lot of teaching being done in the review process. So explaining how to do things, which can cause a backlog, or increase the time it takes to do reviews.
Mhm.
Um, I think also part of the problem is sometimes some themes are uploaded are not fully complete, or they have
Mm.
too many issues. And so every time you have to, go through a review of a theme that has loads of issues, it makes it a lot more difficult or takes more time.
Sure. Sure. That's fascinating. What are some things that you're seeing in these themes? I'm totally curious, and a lot of other people that I've talked to are just curious about what you would see in these new submissions, that like in terms of the quality and the adherence to WordPress coding standards, and even trends in front end design. Um, you've been doing this, looking at them for a few years. Do you have any like interesting notes or anecdotes that you could share about what you see over time in these submissions?
I think the biggest things are prefixing. So functions are not prefixed correctly or with the theme slug, or that, you've just got my theme setup function or whatever, which is most likely going to clash with some other code if you're copy and pasting. There's also not escaping, security issues. So not escaping options and output, or sanitizing settings when you're saving them. I think the other thing is not using core functions. So surprisingly, I find some theme developers don't realize there's a filter to change the length of the excerpt or change the text after it. So the excerpt more, I think it's called, or something. And so, you see them trying to use custom functions for this to get around it. And so then, you're telling each of them again and again, sorry, this is not the right way of doing it.
Sure.
And then you're also checking for licensing. I think that's another one where people don't always fully understand how that works. That the images that you use in your themes, or the fonts or the icons and like that, need to be GPO compatible.
Right. There's a couple examples of some things that are not quite as much of an issue in the plugin space anyways. Just more of a theme problem.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you get a theme submission that's just hideous?
Yeah, we don't really check for design. We have a few design requirements, or not requirements, recommendations. But I mean, your theme could be, we say that the theme design is a bit of a perspective thing. So everyone's perspective of it will be different. And so that's why if it works, you'll be allowed to upload it. Because that would be just too big of an extra step. And it's sometimes, it's very opinionated to a certain extent, what you find nice or not. I've heard of people uploading themes on WordPress.com, and they thought it was a good theme and everything, but then the reviewers on WordPress.com didn't think it was good enough. The design wasn't good enough for their, or unique enough for their platform, and rejected it. So
I see. Sure. Yeah, that's definitely a different ballpark to play in. So design is being something subjective, not a consideration that you really take.
Yeah. It's just too difficult, really, to try. It just adds extra review time. If you have to start reviewing for design and everything. And I've had some people who've made ugly theme. Oh, my opinion, ugly, but they were adamant that this is what they want to upload and everything. And yeah, it's difficult to argue with that then.
Oh, I have no doubt. I guess that I was curious about that, whether you really didn't care or really did look at some themes and say, really? I mean, I guess I can approve this one, but
yeah, and you can let users decide to a certain extent. It's not like their site's going to be damaged or anything like that.
Right.
It's not like with prefixing or security or something.
Right.
So if a user wants, users are normally clever enough, so they can decide what they want to install on their site.
Of course. Yes, it's up to them. Yeah, cool. So, like, the futures sound pretty cool, especially if this automation is getting in place and the process is going to speed up. I have never submitted a theme myself, but I have some friends who have, and some other acquaintances who have talked about it being oftentimes a very, very lengthy process, even surprisingly for experienced developers, not submitting their first time, but submitting another theme. Is the queue just really long?
We have been improving on it, and I think it was about 6 months before. It's reduced to about 4 to 3 months now.
Wow.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of people uploading themes. It's also, there's a number of different factors involved there. It's the amount of people helping out, and all of them being volunteers and things like that.
Hmm.
So not being able to put in 100% of your time to work on it.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's ideas that we're trying out. I mean, we're working on different projects to try to improve the requirements, the documentation, now with automation and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just some of the things are quite old also. I mean, I think there can be also some improvements done to the WordPress.org repository. Like the previews are not very good of
Right.
themes. So it's very difficult for theme authors to show what their theme's potential there. And I think there's a few other places also that could do, but they're all more WordPress.org related, which is
Right.
sometimes a bit more difficult to get make a bit more progress there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that's complicated for sure. Do you think you'll be submitting more themes in the future?
I'm not really a very good designer, so I mean, I might be submitting something in the name of WP Zoo or something where, helping a colleague out where he does the design and I help him out with more the technical side.
Sure.
But yeah, hope to submit a few more themes.
Okay. That's pretty cool. What are some of the other things that are on your horizon? Things you'd like to get involved in, things you'd like to do more of or learn about? What are you working on in the future?
So a few things. First, as we're organizing the next Swiss WordCamp in Bern for planning it for autumn this year. So just looking out for a venue at the moment, and then as soon as we got a venue, we can define the date.
Right.
So looking forward to that.
Great.
And so it'll be the first WordCamp that we're having in Bern. We've had other WordCamps in Switzerland before. So Bern's the capital of Switzerland, so
All
but it's
right.
still quite a small city.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just at work also, I'm looking into helping out with maintenance and support for existing clients. So finding out ways how we can, improve on that, make sure that we have continuous improvements for them. How can we make sure that our existing clients are happy so that we can, in the future, potentially bring new ideas and new projects to them that they will like and we'll be able to implement for them.
Right. Right. What is your are you kind of leading this effort for the new WordCamp or just helping out?
Yeah, I was sort of the lead organizer for that.
All
So
right.
yeah, I mean, I helped organize a few other WordCamps, but it's the first time as sort of more in the role of a lead organizer.
Okay. Have
Yeah.
anything that you're really trying to do that's special this time? Or anything to make it stand out or really be to raise the bar for this event?
Um, I think it's just mainly having good planning, really. There's not really a lot. I think it's just a few little ideas, a few little ways, trying a few different things. Now, this time we're going to have the contributor day on the Friday before the conference. It's only going to be a 1 day conference, so this conference is going to be on a Saturday. So just changing that format. And we're thinking of perhaps having a little goodie for the people who come to the contributor day as a little motivation.
Oh, nice. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. What else is on your calendar for this year that you might? We bumped into each other and actually stayed at the same house this past December in
Yeah.
Philadelphia for WordCamp US. What other events do you think you might be attending this year?
So WordCamp London's this weekend. So that's why I'm sort of in the UK at the moment also.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be part of a panel of theme developers where we have a small discussion at WordCamp London. And then I'm thinking of going down to Italy, to Turin, in April, and help out there at the Contributor Day. And then after that in June is WordCamp Europe in Paris.
Right.
And before that, there'll be the Community Summit, which I hope to attend also.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, at least at the beginning of the year, there's quite a bit on. I'm not sure about the end of the year. Yeah, not all of the WordCamps are published yet on the site.
I guess that's
So
a
I need
good
to see
point.
where. Yeah, so I need to work out then what's happening then.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm coming to the WordCamp US again this year or not, but
Yeah.
I have to see.
Did you attend in 2015?
No, it was my first time in the US this year, or last
Oh,
year.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think of the event?
I thought it was great. Yeah, I mean, I liked that the venue was so big. You know, and there was also a place to go away and just sit down on a sofa or whatever and relax a bit, you know.
Mm.
And just the big halls and everything, that was nice. Didn't really get to listen to a lot of speech talks, but I had a great time, catching up with people.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell people I'm going to these conferences, I'd say that it's a way to meet up with friends, because you meet them at one conference and then you go meet them somewhere else. And,
Right. Yeah, that's completely true. But there's a lot of great people, and
yeah,
it's really special to get to go to an event like that and see so many of them all in one place, and meet new ones like we met each other last year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you coming to WordCamp Europe?
Oh man, I definitely was considering it. I think it's a long shot right now. That I had other things come up, but
Yeah,
it's every year I say maybe this will be the year that I make it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's a great event. You get not as yeah, it's a bit different to WordCamp US because Europe has so many countries in it,
mhm.
and so you do meet loads of people from different countries, and
Right.
so the diversity there is a lot higher in a certain way,
Mhm.
um, because the US is so large. Yeah, mainly they're Americans coming to WordCamp US, but the number of
Right.
countries is a lot more higher in
True.
WordCamp Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Hmm. Well, what sort of things do you like to do in your spare time, Ulrich?
I've been doing judo for about 15 years now.
Oh, right.
So yeah, do that quite regularly.
You haven't broken any new
Training,
bones yet since
No,
since
that
then?
no, that was the only injury that I've had that was really bad.
Okay, that's good.
So I was lucky, made sure that I rest after my training and all that, and
Right.
yeah, so go in for some local competitions. I'm in a local team where we have monthly competitions and things like that. So
Mhm. Okay.
yeah, other than that, nothing really special.
All right. Let's go. Let's go. Well, I want to be respectful of your time and kind of, it's getting pretty late for you, pretty late for me. I got to get dinner started here. So just a couple last questions. One, do you have any recommendations for me on someone that I should invite on this show in the future?
I think you've invited a lot of people. Um, um, Depends on how many Europeans you've invited. I'm not sure. I mean, you could think of inviting my colleague, Dominic Schilling.
Oh, you work with Dominic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, or Just thinking. I mean, have you invited John? Is it Bullion?
Oh,
He works for
right,
Human Made. Yeah.
right. He that's not it. I don't think that's even his last name. What is his last name? John.
Isn't it?
I think that's just his username.
I know it's John Billion is his last name, but I thought
Uh,
I just check it out.
yeah. He was a release lead for maybe 4.1 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Oh, sorry, John Blackburn. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
that's it, John Blackford. Right.
Yeah, his user handle is John Billion. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that would be great. It's that's something that I'd like to improve on this show in the future. I, generally speaking, don't invite, don't ask people to come on the show if I haven't met them yet, for the most part.
Yeah.
And being someone who hasn't traveled much outside of the States, I don't get too many opportunities to meet people like yourself,
Yeah.
from across the pond. So I would like to improve on that in the future. Maybe this year or next year will be the year that I make it overseas for the first time.
Yeah.
And expand my network quite a bit. I would like that very much.
Yeah. But a lot of there's still a few Europeans come across for like WordCamp US and things like that. So
Oh, absolutely.
you might get to see a few of them.
Yeah.
Maybe also, did you meet Felix?
Phoenix.
He works. He works on what's it? Multi-site on WordPress at the moment.
Hmm. I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
cool.
So you're near London. I do know some people near London. Do you know Sonny Radalel?
I sort of know of him. I haven't
Oh,
met
okay.
him.
So he's there. There's a good chance
Yeah.
he'll be at WordCamp.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun to meet up.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely say hello to Sonny. All right. Well, I should wrap this up. It's been an awesome conversation, Ulrich. I learned a lot, and I really look forward to bumping into you again one of these days.
Yeah.
Anything final you want to share with like how people can get in touch with you, or maybe recommend who should be taking a look at WP Zoo if they're interested?
Yeah. So you can find me on mainly on Twitter under Grappler Ulrich, and that's my username most different places. I mean, also on WordPress.org. If you've got any questions on the theme automation or theme review process or anything, you can find me on WordPress.org Slack. Yeah. We're trying to make good products for themes at WP Zoo. You can find us on Twitter also at WP Zoo. And happy to help.
Cool. Thanks so much, Ulrich. This has been a fun discussion. I wish you all the best, and
Yeah, thanks.
have a great night, my friend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.